GM, everybody, very quick update for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is currently consolidating, as we can see on the daily here, just consolidating in a range, tight range. Which way is it going to break out? I want to show you what I'm currently looking at because I noticed a few people in some of my groups are starting to get a little bit nervous, unsure of which way this is going to go. And I just want to remind people that Bitcoin has been on quite a strong move. The stock market green again today, pretty much no breaks, all-time highs. So we've got some nice things that we want to see sort of, I guess, accompanying information and data and support for higher prices. And I do actually think we go a little bit higher before seeing a bit of a slowdown into sort of late summer, sort of late August, September time. So we are above this long-term trend line here. We have broken above this. This connects to 2017 and the 2021 cycle highs, and we are currently hanging out above this. We have already tested it a couple of times as supports here. You can see, well, sort of the first week we broke out from it, the second week as well, and it looks like maybe we go slightly below it, but I think that'll be a trap. I think a lot of people right now are expecting more of a pullback in the market and are saying, right, it's no secret that August and September are seasonally poor months for both the stock market and the crypto market. And obviously with stocks running a lot higher over the last few weeks, it's completely natural for traders to be looking to take profit, for traders to be looking to hedge, looking at short trades. And I think the market is getting maybe a little bit ahead of itself. We haven't really seen much in terms of a catalyst to sort of confirm any pullback yet. And I think probably the way this goes is the market goes higher first, traps all the people looking for shorts here. Maybe we get another flush lower over the next day or two down to, below this trend line, maybe coming into our moving average here. This is our 50-day moving average here, around about 112,000. So maybe that is possible. But then I do think we have one more leg in us higher to obviously trap those bears and trap those people that are maybe positioning into the market and de-risking a little bit too early on the presumption that August is going to be weak. We could see maybe a bullish start to August, and then that is where the real trap comes in, when people are getting bullish at new all-time highs, and then the market runs down over late August, September, traps the bears, and then we see obviously that explosion higher in Q4, which I still think is on the cards. So that's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin. Obviously, just looking at, I think I had a path drawn here on Bitcoin. If I go onto the weekly on this chart, so you can see we've pretty much been following this path to a T. Obviously talked about getting long about a month ago on the market. I said that I thought the market was going to rip higher. It has done. And from here, what we're really wanting to see is probably some consolidation at some point over the summer, which you can see on the chart here, before some expansion in Q4. And that hasn't changed at all. So yeah, potentially we run a little bit higher, but then we sort of come down over the next few weeks, over the next couple of months. Maybe we come as low as 108K. We could maybe retest our highs from last year. That looks like a fairly obvious area of support for us to come into. Like I say, we've got horizontals around about 105, 104,000 as well, where the bodies of these weekly candles were closing. So potentially we come into this 104, 108K area towards the end of the summer. That would look something like that, and then explode. Or potentially we get a more shallow pullback. And I'm thinking a more shallow pullback below this trend line to trap a few bears is definitely my preferred scenario here, because I think a lot of people in this market are saying, look, it's a trader's market. Look, the summer is very slow, very quiet. I should have taken profits. I'm going to take profits next time. So this is a message I heard from a lot of people last year at the start of this year. I want to take profits. People really want to get early in their profit taking. And we haven't seen too much of this here, but I know for a fact people have been taking profits, because I've been getting the messages from people telling me that they're taking profits and telling me they're nervous on the market and telling me they're de-risking. So, if that's not providing much of an impact here, it's potential that people looking for lower prices to get into the market do get front run. And that's when you get this chasing. And what we tend to see towards the end of bull runs is actually the dips get a lot faster, get a lot shallower. Those pullbacks get bought up a lot more quickly, and that's what lures people into a false sense of security. People aren't able to get all their positions and orders filled. They then have to chase the market higher, and we get those sort of parabolic blow-off tops in assets. And potentially that is what we're looking at to happen at the end of this year. Obviously, it didn't happen at the end of the last cycle. I think a lot of people are now looking at the last cycle and saying, well, that's not going to happen again. These parabolic blow off tops are a thing of the past. Actually, it could be that we skip that last cycle and this cycle will actually get more of a parabolic, more of a classic sort of hockey stick up. And then obviously coming down just as quickly on the other side when everything does completely climax and top out. So they're my current thoughts on Bitcoin. I'm not too worried here. If we look at another asset that's getting a lot of attention, obviously it's getting all the headlines right now about sort of BlackRock and institutions buying. It is Ethereum. Ethereum, look, I think Ethereum has gone on a really, really incredible run since April. Definitely one of the best performing, sort of major assets out there. And yeah, I do think Ethereum does go into a bit of a pullback. Maybe so. So I've got two outcomes to Ethereum. Obviously, what it could do is it could start to diverge a bit from Bitcoin and come down a bit harder. Obviously, Bitcoin, I'm saying I expect a shallow pullback. I don't know if we'll go sub 3,000 again. I think it will be more shallow in Ethereum as well. I just think there's too many eyeballs on Ethereum. So potentially we do come down to around about sort of 3,300, 3,400. But what we could also do is we could pop higher, obviously catch this liquidity above these highs, and then go in for more of a shallow pullback. Below this trend line, people then start to get concerned because they think, right, Ethereum's, it's topped out, it's peaked, it's swept the liquidity, it's lost the trend line. So you get this sort of like this false breakout, and then it becomes like the false breakout because it's looking like a false breakout, but actually it's not. And then obviously we explode higher in the end of the year. So potentially that is one outcome for Ethereum. I think for now, I'll still put the pullback on here and the difficulty in breaking out of this trend line just because Ethereum's gone on such a powerful move over the last few weeks. I mean, literally it went from 2,200 all the way up to nearly $4,000, nearly a 2x move for what is a pretty, sort of higher market cap crypto, right? Number two. So in the space. So yeah, I think Ethereum looks good here. And again, I'm just really looking for consolidation. Me, myself, I feel underexposed and allocated to Ethereum. I will be looking for dips down below 3,500 to start to add to positions, probably opening up some lowly leveraged longs because I think this is starting to look inevitable that Ethereum makes a leg higher. It seems to have completely 180'd from the sentiment that we saw down here back in April time, which obviously was driven largely by, I think, just far too bullish positioning after the ETF news and all of the, sort of Eric Trump comments. Everybody was getting super bullish on Ethereum and it's just underperformed until everybody got liquidated, wiped out, no leverage is left in the market. Too many shorts have piled in, and of course then it runs aggressively the other way in what has been really a hated rally. So I do think Ethereum is poised to have its moment finally, and that probably does come over the next couple of months. So I really don't see the requirement to be selling positions here. Personally, I'm not looking to sell positions here. I am looking to add more back into the market on dips. Obviously, I went bullish just over a month ago. We've seen some huge moves since then, and with capital that I wasn't able to allocate, I've just been keeping that on the side for a potential late August, early September dip to get into the market before hopefully a Q4 blow off. So we'll see how that goes. A couple of other alts I've got my eye on. One is Solana. Solana lagging a little bit. I do think Solana comes back into probably the 160s area. So between 160 and 170, maybe around 165. We've got some trend line support here. And we'll be filling some of this sort of fair value gap as well. So potentially Solana comes down, looks to get reaccumulated and has another run up later on in the year. This is really the general path that I'm looking for out of this market over the next 3-4 months. And then I'm looking for a cycle top. SUI as well. I think SUI can probably come down to this 50% level. You can probably see this 50% drawn on the this sort of swing. Where's that pulling from? So yeah, I actually need to modify this because Sui went a little bit higher. So the 50% now is going to be, it's hard to see, but it's here. It's this 3.3 area. So I'll be looking for potentially a move into this sort of zone here. Maybe it coincides with the 50-week moving average coming up to support the price. But yeah, it would just be taking out the low of this wick as well. So a potential trap scenario there where it's taking the liquidity and then runs higher. So yeah, just holding off on further buys at the moment, looking for that 50% on SUI. And yeah, potentially this happens quite soon. This could happen over the next few days, and we could then be looking at a final pump before that, sort of summer weakness or late summer weakness, shall we say. Another one I'm looking at is S. So I took a decent look at this today. Obviously, the chart looks diabolical. Let's not lie about that. It's definitely a lagger here. And I know a lot of people are getting frustrated about it, but I just want to tell you that we've seen some enormous volume coming in on S around these lows, okay, especially in this pump we had here. And usually you get these volume spikes around major pivots in the market. I do think if we look at this, I want to call it a falling wedge, but if we look at the underside of this falling wedge, which we dropped out of, and we've now come back inside, and then we've got above. Obviously, this is just all over the place, but you can see that we're actually going to be coming up to this trend line, the bottom of this wedge, very soon, around about 27, which would obviously sort of capture this liquidity. It's actually going below these lows here. So it would be around 27. Obviously, it'd be a higher low from the low made in June. And also, we'd be coming up on a daily 9 buy signal on the Tom DeMott sequential. So you can see right now we are on the daily 8. So these bars run from 1 to 9, and when we see a 9, that can often indicate a pivot in the market. So I'll be looking for a potential low on Sonic tomorrow, and potentially this coincides with a bit of volatility and maybe a push down off the back of the FOMC today, and then we see that turnaround in price tomorrow. If we get some follow through tomorrow, maybe that is when the market looks to bottom and turn around. So I quite like S here or tomorrow. In fact, if we get that push lower, near coming down a bit as well, but overall, I think near can do well. I mean, just above $2.50 at the moment, as high as $9 earlier on this year. So I don't see any reason why near wouldn't get back to that. It is considered as the blockchain for AI, so it has the AI narrative going for it. Uh, other ones I like, or one other one I like, which I just want to call out on the stream here, is Ton as well. So one of the few cryptos that is not in the red today, but we can see that it looks like Ton has made a higher low just on a weekly chart from where it was previously. Obviously, it's been at some lower prices throughout last year. It had its big expansion higher in 2024. This was all the hype around Telegram backing I think it's called TON, it's called the Open Network, but it was all this hype around, obviously, this is a Telegram supported token, and they're going to be able to onboard tens of millions of existing Telegram users. And this crash really happened when Pavel, the founder of Telegram, got locked up in France. I believe he's still locked up in France, but they're currently questioning him. If he comes out of jail, obviously we've had all of this positive regulation around things like free speech, all this crypto regulation, censorship regulation coming out of the US. So I think the backdrop is actually really well set up for a token like Ton to do well over the rest of this bull run. It hasn't really had its run yet. I think it's one of those tokens that, look, if it gets above 8.2, 8.3, it's going to be at all-time highs. That is less than a 3x from here, and it could really do some multiples for the rest of this cycle. So I'm really keeping a close eye on Ton. I think that is one of the picks that is going under the radar right now, as is S. Sonic. So those are two, potential should we say, slightly higher risk picks outside of your Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, which Sui, which I think will all do well over the next few weeks and over the later stage of this cycle. Things like L2s, I'd really avoid due to the poor tokenomics and a lot of overhang supply and just not enough demand, organic demand coming in for those tokens. At least with the L1, you've actually got demand if people want to do anything on chain with that token. At least with something like Ton, you've got the Telegram narrative. With something like Sonic, you've got the whole DeFi, obviously previously Phantom, loyal fan base when it comes to Sonic token, fastest EVM chain. So you've got certain narratives around some of the larger chains there, which I think will carry some of the larger chains to higher prices. Then if you want to go down the risk curve, you've got your meme coins, and I'll do a proper update, a proper meme coin video very soon, telling you exactly what meme coins I'm looking at to get those larger gains from those higher beta picks. Things like your Popcats and Pepes are obviously going to be included, but we've also got some smaller ones which take you way down the risk curve. Some that I've spoken about in previous videos last year that I think will make comebacks, others that I haven't spoken about that I think are set to do very well, that haven't really had a big run yet, but should have a big run if the market really starts to take off. So that's the update. Obviously, thank you very much for watching. Just to recap then on Bitcoin. A little bit of weakness right here. Not too concerned as long as Bitcoin can close this week above this longer term trend line. I think Bitcoin will still look good for a push higher, but I am expecting a bit of fun and games from the market makers at these levels, potentially flushes lower, flushes higher, and maybe late summer, a bit of a consolidation or pullback before running higher later on this year. So yeah, the game plan hasn't changed, is what I'm trying to say. And look, if you're very locked in and if you're spending all day looking at charts, maybe just maybe enjoy a little bit of the summer weather and don't get yourself too caught up on any big high leverage positions or get yourself overexposed at this time of year, because it can be a pretty choppy time of year over the summertime. But I think there will be opportunities late summer for us to get into the market, get fully positioned, get some higher leverage positions on to really make the most of the last few final phases of this bull run. So have a wonderful day, and if you've watched this to the end, really appreciate it. Please do smash a like if you like the video. That encourages me to get these videos more regular, get them out, and that's certainly what I intend to do for the rest of this year, because I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities coming our way over the next couple of months. So have a fantastic day and talk to you all on the next one. GM, GM, GM.